Hi, it's Kim. So this morning, my son Chris texted me at 6:30. He probably hadn't gone to bed yet, and I wasn't up yet. And he wanted to know how to make roofing biscuits. Now, the question is, what are roofing biscuits? I'll answer later on. But I'm going to start making them. They're basically a tea biscuit, a cinnamon tea biscuit. And when my guys were little wee kids, I think Adam was 2, and Chris would have been about 5. Ray was putting a new roof on our house when we lived in St. Mary's. And it was my job to keep him fed. Well, I guess that's always been my job. So anyways, one of the things I made was I made tea biscuits and I put some cinnamon sugar in them. And then I rolled them in spirals. And that was, he had them one day for a snack. Well, he didn't really like them, but the kids loved them, but they didn't know what they were. So because Dad was roofing, they called them roofing biscuits, and the name stuck. So these have ever since been called roofing biscuits, and my guys love them. So what I did here is just, it makes it easier to get them out of the pan, is I put a strip of parchment paper in the bottom of an 8x8 or a 9x9 square pan. And we'll get back to that in a minute. Now this book, my recipe book, this is my recipe book from years and years. I got it as a shower gift when we got married. So this is where the recipe came out of. I call this the Bible. So it's just a basic tea recipe. Tea biscuit recipe. So what it is it's 2 cups of flour, just regular all-purpose flour, nothing fancy, whatever you've got in the cupboard. Just 2 cups. And you put it in your mixer. You can do it in a food processor. You can do it by hand if you want it. It's just I'm lazy. So 2 cups of flour. Save the flour out. You're going to need it when you roll these out. And then you need just a bit of salt. Like, half a teaspoon. Oh, this is a new container. I like how they say push. So just some in the palm of your hand. Just like that much. You're going to need 4 teaspoons of baking powder. And as Martha Stewart would say, make sure it's fresh. You haven't had it for 14 years in your cupboard, because it really does make a difference. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 teaspoons of baking powder. And that's your dry ingredients. Oh, and I forgot. These are a sweet biscuit. So if you want, you can put like a tablespoon of white sugar in them if you want. I normally don't, but you can. So just give that a splurge together. That's it. Now you need a half a cup of shortening. Now if you really want them really rich, you can add half a cup of butter instead, but half a cup of shortening. My high school home ec teacher would call this fat. That was how she always said it. Fat, like it was a dirty word. So you need a half a cup of fat. I can still hear her say that. I haven't been in high school in decades. And make sure you get all the wax paper off your shortening. And then you just mix that until it's just all crumbly. As Martha and Ina and anybody else would say, about the size of peas. yes, I do watch Food Network. So, as you can see, it's just all broken up. There's some little pieces, but not many. Then you need milk. You can use cream again if you want them really rich, or half and half. If you're doing this and just making the tea biscuits, if you want them a savory, you can even use juice, like tomato juice if you're making it for beef stew. Just turn it on low, add your milk, and let it go till it just comes together in a clump. And I always give it one good shot. I don't know why, I just do. So as you can see, it's just a clump. So, move the mixer out of the way. Drop the knife on your foot. Hey, you're going to need your flour again. You're going to flour your surface. This is where Ray hates it because I get flour all over the place, and then he finds it 3 weeks from now. Oh, by the way, you need your oven preheat at 425. So you just take it out of the bowl. Now, depending on the weather, you might need a little more or a little less milk. I usually start with about 3/4 of a cup. But even if you go to a full cup, it'll be okay. It'll just be a little goopier, that's all. And goopy is a technical term. And when this part, you don't want to do any too much. You just want to get it together. Spread the flour and just pat it out. Now you can use a rolling pin if you want, but just like this, pack it out. Okay. Now, in another bowl, I suppose you could use the same one. You need, I've lost them. In here. Sorry, lost my measuring cups. You need half a cup of butter. And this should be like room temperature butter, so it's soft, so it'll spread. And again, this measurement, most of the time when I'm measuring for baking, it has to be exact. Baking is a science. Cooking, yeah, to a certain degree, but baking is a science. If you add too much or not enough, it isn't going to work. But with this part of it, it's more, whatever. And then you need brown sugar. And about between a cup and 3/4 of a cup. And brown sugar, make sure you pack. So it's not exact, but it's close. And if you want more cinnamon sugar, that's okay. Just always, it's 1 part butter to 2 parts cinnamon, or 2 parts brown sugar. And then a good tablespoon or so of cinnamon. And if you want, you could add ginger or nutmeg or, whatever. You can also add nuts, chopped nuts. You can add raisins. Yes, dear, I know. Cherries, dried cherries, or, any dried fruit. Candied cherries would be good. And you just mix this together. just takes a minute. I'm being told I'm not doing it right. Maybe he should move the camera. And then you just spread it on once it's all mixed.
Just move it down.
It's stuck. Apparently, I need to move this down. I don't know if I can because it's stuck. Let's see what we can do. Okay. The boss says that's good. So you just spread this. Now I've got a good portion here, so this is going to be really goopy. Which is why you put the parchment paper in the pan. If you don't have parchment paper, you can use tin foil, and if you don't have that, you really don't have to do it to line it with anything. It just makes clean up and getting them out a little easier. That's all. So that's all. And if it's stuck, just go underneath with your spatula, and then you start rolling. You roll, if you make it a rectangle, roll it you roll the long side up. And you just roll it, give it a little squeeze, not a huge squeeze. Then you get a knife. That one will work actually. In your pan, and you cut it into 12. So you cut it in half, and then in half again, so that's in 4, and then each of these in 3. You see they squish, but that's okay. We'll bring them back. It doesn't matter if they're squished. As I said, oven 425. Now quite often, these little guys at the end, I just eat them. But you know, since I'm trying to be a good girl here, I won't. Maybe now, instead of roofing biscuits, we should call these isolation biscuits. And you just put them in the pan. Tuck them in all nice and close. Yeah. Let's give them a pat. And they're ready. Okay, 425 oven for 15 minutes. Okay, there's the timer for the roofing biscuits. I'm going to take them out of the oven. And there we go. That's what they look like when they come out. They're a light brown on top. They're really, really hot. So be careful with the sugar, especially, because it'll be really hot. Now, normally, just let them sit for 10 minutes. Then you can just run your knife down the side. And I didn't get the rack out. Sorry. Noise. If Ray will take the pan away when I lift this up. There we go. Now, as I said, normally I'd wait 10 minutes because these are still really hot, but you see they just fall apart. Wait 10 minutes, half an hour, whatever. And see, there's goop on the counter. You can serve them with butter. They're best served like within the next half hour or so. But they're okay tomorrow if you do wrap them up. And serve them with butter. You can warm them up. You can also, serve them with fruit. If you have like a applesauce or something like that, or if you put fruit on the bottom of the dish and then put these on top, that would be really good too. So that's how you make roofing biscuits. Okay, if you need anything, you know where I am. Talk to you later. Bye.